for what it's worth. There's always something to enjoy. There's never a game that I've encountered where I've hated every element of the game. There's always something that's appealing. For the games that I kind of dislike playing, there's always going to be a one major element that's just not done well. It's broken. One example I shall go on here is the game I hate the most more than anything in this world is Vagrant Story.
Oh my god.
Done by Squaresoft. I said, everyone thinks, oh, I hate that game outright. I love the art style and I love the story and the characters are bizarre, but fuck me, whoever thought of the many different gameplay aspects, I don't know. I think they made the game because they wanted to make people cry, honestly. They wanted to make people feel, you know, insecure and insignificant, because I just dislike how that game is played. I hate the combat system. I hate how you have to customize weapons every 10 seconds. Really hate the boss battles, Cryptic Cloud, but what I hate most of all, your enhancement system is a fucking roulette machine. And that to me just drove me insane.
That's a game, I got a little bit of a story to tell with that game. I remember when I was really young, going to Blockbuster, always seeing Vagrant Story, never quite wanting to pick it up. One day I think to myself, you know what, I think I'll give this game a shot. I'm always seeing it here in the Blockbuster, let me give it a try. Returned it the next day.
Not only did I return it, I ran to the store because the store was only a couple of blocks from where I lived. I'm just like, nah, get this fucking piece of shit out of my PlayStation 1. I think I hit the eject button so hard it popped out of the system. And I'm just like, bam, right in the case, and I ran there, and I'm just like, went to the clerk at the video store, and I'm like, if you want to be a hero, don't lend this game, don't hire this game out to anyone else. You know, just throw it in the bin right now. And you know what's really funny is, I bet you, upon saying this, we will get a ton of people defending that game, because there is a huge fan base for that game.
Yeah, there is.
And
I know Dinky Dana really likes that game.
The thing about it is, this is what separates certain RPG subcultures. The subculture that I'm sort of in is, I appreciate RPGs for the story. Story comes first, and if the gameplay is good, it's a nice bonus, it's a nice surprise. Apparently, I've just been witnessing more and more for the last 5 years, there is a certain RPG fan base that loves challenging games. They want to play a challenging game more than experience the story. So
yeah,
they
play roguelikes a lot.
And they play roguelikes, they play Tri-Ace games, you know, probably play Vagrants, all that. So I kind of appreciate their view. At least there is a group there that does appreciate games to be challenging. Honestly, if I want to play a challenging game, I'll go play something more action-orientated. But I like it when you can play a challenging RPG, but it's manageable. Like, it's hard, but you can realize where you went wrong and do it right next time.
I just want to say, though, like, I don't think Vagrant Story is a particularly bad game. I think it's a competently, well put game. I just think it's just not for me, and I don't think it's something that appeals to me. So, to all the people who want to defend Vagrant Story, right, about now and call us dumbasses because we don't like it, I just want to say, like, I don't think it's a bad game. I just think that it doesn't appeal to me. I think it's probably the same for you too, right?
Yeah, it just, in terms of gameplay, it's the least appealing game I've ever played, which is really sad because I want to know what happens to Ashley Riot at the end of the game. I think that's another reason that YouTube is fantastic, but at the same time kind of destroys the elements of surprise. Is most people who can't wait to witness a game with their two hands on the control pad, they can just type in a certain game, and if someone's got a walkthrough on it, they can experience it. I don't usually like to do that. For Vagrant Story, however, yeah.
I mean, one of these days, I think I may give it another shot. I mean, there are so many people that do like it. There must be a reason.
Yeah, I've given myself an awesome reason if I ever play it again. I was actually going to put up a PayPal donate button, and I say, if you will pay me $10, I will download it from PSN, and I will stream it live, and you can watch the anger ensue.
I would watch that. That sounds like a fun time.
Yeah, fun times to be had.
I think that also kind of ties in with what people on YouTube do a lot nowadays. They don't really like to give credit where credit is due. A lot of people kind of like to project their opinion as fact. It kind of rubs me the wrong way, because I don't think there's anything wrong with voicing displeasure with something. If you don't like something, you have every right to bitch, moan, and complain about it. If you bought it and you're displeased with it, go right ahead, start complaining. But the thing is, I don't think it's right to try and say, like, what you're saying is objectively right. What you're saying about the game is the inevitable truth, and anyone who disagrees with you is a complete and utter idiot. I think that sort of behavior is not really conducive, the gaming community in general.
I call it Bible bashing. Like, they hold the game like a Bible and bash into people's brains. That's how I view it. I would say, give your opinion, but don't attack anyone that says negatively. Basically, give your opinions across. Don't get upset if anyone else doesn't like it. Don't take it to heart. Have them explain why they hate it, and then you give your opinions across. But don't go overboard. Just leave it at that.
Yeah.
I see like 3-page columns of people just going nuts. It then stops becoming about the game, and then it comes about the conflict between the two people, and that's where it just goes wrong.
Yeah, because in the end of the day, I mean, there's just certain games that you're not going to like simply because it's not something that appeals to you. But for the people that it does appeal to, they're going to absolutely love it. And the least you can do is at least have respect for the people who disagree with you. And I think that's a big component. Like, some people just don't have any respect for other people's opinions on games.
Yeah. To anyone who loves Vegas Story, more power to you. There's nothing wrong with you. It's just personally, I just do not like the game. At the same time, you just do have to watch yourself when you want to promote a game you love. I always recommend, when people want to get into RPGs, I always recommend Suikoden 1 and 2, because they're my favorite games of all time. But I don't go after anyone who says they suck or this is better. I just say, okay.
I'm a really big fan, personally, of the Devil May Cry series. And I really hate Devil May Cry 2. But
you're not alone there. You are not alone.
But there are people who like Devil May Cry 2. And I don't give them shit for it. If they like the game, then there's something that they saw in the game that I don't see. And if they were able to enjoy it, that's great. They were able to enjoy something I couldn't. There's just certain people who don't think that way and think that it's okay for them to have no respect for how other people think. And I just think that maybe it'd be a lot easier for people to kind of join in the gaming community if people had a little more respect for, how people think in general, instead of just propagating their opinion as if it was fact.
That's actually one of the beauties about the RPG community, is it's not as high stressed. We're actually very good at expressing our opinions and respecting everyone else more than like the first-person shooter community.
Oh god!
I'm like, holy shit! You hear about some of the chat room incidences. For all of you out there that do know that, I do believe that most first-person shooter fans are teenagers and high school students. They're in that stage where they do want to lash out, and that's kind of their release, playing that game. But they do go too far. I talk about a first-person shooter that didn't end in blood, per se.
I mean, personally, I'm a very casual fan of first-person shooters. Actually, the last one I played was Borderlands, which is, funnily enough, an RPG first-person shooter.
Yeah, that's a genre that's sort of cropping up now and then. For all of you who know, back in the day, there's a game called System Shock. That kind of delved into RPG elements. I always believe that's a viable sort of genre, sort of like a first FPS/RPG. Back in the day, you would never believe in a million years that was even possible, because everyone pigeonholed everything into just one direct genre. But these days, some of the games have more than 4 to 5 different subgenres all in the one game. The one game I want to touch upon is Yakuza.
Oh yeah, loves me some Yakuza.
That has the most bizarre genre ever, and I love it. It is an action adventure brawler RPG.
Exactly. And it's just so many mini games just thrown in there. You can do karaoke and bowling and golf. There's so many just mini games thrown in. It's just one of the most diverse games I've ever played.
When I found out that darts was in 3, I jumped for joy. I played darts in real life a lot, and I used to big time back in high school. When I found out it was a darts mini game in Yakuza 3, I did that for like an entire day. And the controls are fantastic too. It was the one. I've never played many dart games in video games, but for this one, the controls were fantastic. I absolutely loved using it. That's the beauty of Yakuza. There are so many bizarre side quests, and I don't want to spoil much, but I do want to touch on 2. So people can just be interested. The big one of Yakuza 2 that made me just cry tears of laughter was, you save this gangster's life and he gives you a invitation to come into this club, and you have no idea what this club is about.
Oh, I know where this is going.
Yeah, and you're just wondering what the fuck's going on here. And then you see the diaper, and you're like, oh dear God. And sure enough, you storm out of there, go to where all the Yakuza is, and they're all wearing diapers, and they're all got these beautiful middle 20-year-old women in their arms cradling them and all this, and I'm like, oh my God, this is awesome. And not only that, you get to kick the shit out of them in the middle of this nursery, and you can pick up toddler toys, you can pick up bottles and smash them across their face and everything. At that point, I'm just like, this game has so much going for it, more than nearly any other game I've played.
That's kind of thing, though, with Yakuza 3. I think that they should have kind of stuck with what they were doing in 1 and 2. Because I think 3 got a little too political for its own taste in terms of the story.
I like 3. I really love 3. I prefer 2. Yeah, you're exactly right. That's when they did heavily push politics in there, which is actually appropriate given what was going in Okinawa within the story. I really loved the story. It's just number 2 was so emotional. That kind of pulled the heartstrings a bit.
My personal favorite, though, is the first one. It's always going to be the first one. I think the third one probably had the best gameplay, though. For me personally, the story was best in the first one.
I really love the conflict between... I touched on this in RPGs where you have a friend who will become a villain. I think Yakuza has one of the best representations of that ever.
Yes. In the beginning, you really do feel the camaraderie between Nishiki, Kazuma. Yeah. And then when Kazuma... I guess that's not much of a spoiler because it happens fairly quickly. When Kazuma goes to jail and he stays there for like, I think 10 years and he comes back and everything's changed, you know, and you see what's happened. It affected me personally when I saw that because so much had changed even after Kazuma tried to do the right thing. It ended up changing everything for the worst.
And you want to see Kazuma persevere more than anything. That's what pushes you to play the game, see what happens. That's a very good example of that done well. Anyway, I was going to touch up upon one more spoiler, and I swear to God, this is the last time I'm going to do it, is in Yakuza 3. And this is the best side quest of the game. I was just so into it. And this is coming from a filmmaker's side, because I love producing short movies, writing scripts, is there's a side quest where someone on the street is looking for an actor in a martial arts movie.
Oh, I remember that quest.
And you essentially are working in a martial arts movie. What's really funny is the director tells you what moves to perform. This specific move at this specific time. Of course, I didn't do it because it's fucking hard to do. But the funniest piece of that quest was you had to defeat the villain within an inch of your life. So what they asked you to do is pretty much get to like the lowest of your health where it starts flashing red, then kick the shit out of him. I basically was at full health and I thought, well, how's this gonna work? So I said, alright, I'm just gonna leave the character there and let him beat me down. He kept punching me and it was just minute little parts and I'm like waiting. Oh fuck this. I just connected with him and he went down like a sack of shit. I'm like, oh, I failed this big time. Found out I didn't. But I was just, it's so good that they can write something like that in. It shows a lot of character. And Yakuza, otherwise known as Real Gagotoku, is very popular in Japan. It is now gone past the video game because the latest one that they released was the Yakuza game on the PSP, which I have trouble pronouncing, but essentially it's been translated to Yakuza New Legend, the Black Panther or the Black Leopard, and that looks like a really good game on the PSP. What people don't know is there was a TV series that was made, I think just a bit after the game's release.
Wow.
And I always thought that's awesome. And it's got the same characters and everything. There's even an episode where the creator stars in it, which I think is awesome.
That is fucking awesome. I didn't know there was a series, but I did see the Yakuza movie. I have to say that the movie, as a movie, it's actually not that good, but I just couldn't help but be really entertained by it, because I thought it was a fun movie.
When I heard that there was a movie, it's like, awesome. I heard then Beat Takeshi was a part of it, like, oh dear. Because I love Beat Takeshi, even though he's an absolute crazy bastard.
Like, technically speaking, the movie's really not that great. There's some plot holes, and they don't explain things correctly. And unless you've played the game, you're not really going to understand what's going on. They kind of, like, follow characters that don't matter. But at the same time, it's such a fun movie.
I believe they did Majima really well, though.
Dude, yes they did. Oh my god, Majima is perfect. I love how like there's one part you think he's dead because he's been shot, and then you see he's like falling asleep with her, and he sneezes, and he's like, yeah, cold.
Yes. All of you that don't know, Majima is a character in the Yakuza series, and he's essentially the comic relief. He's a psychotic motherfucker, but he just makes you laugh. And for all of you Star Wars fans, he's actually voiced by Mark Hamill in the original Yakuza game, where that was the only game that was dubbed in English. They actually got Mark Hamill to do his voice, and I think he did him justice.
Honestly, I think that the guy who did Kazuma and Mark Hamill were like the only decent voice actors. Everyone else was really bad.
And it's funny, most of the other stars, yeah, they got some big stars to do that. I was actually very surprised at the cast. Like, Shinamo was done by Michael Madsen. Nichiki was done by Michael Rosenbaum. He's the guy who plays Lex Luthor in Smallville.
Wow, I didn't know that.
Yeah, that day I found out. I was like, how do I know that name?